And when Vanessa told Xander that she loves her, and she was like, Xander, say it back. She looked so scared in that moment. I was like, child, the ghetto. Hey y'all, it's Nate. Welcome back to my little corner of YouTube. This video will contain spoilers for the Ultimatum Queer Love, episodes 1 through 8. So if you haven't watched them and you don't want spoilers, save this video and come back after you do. If you missed my commentary on episodes 1 through 4, you can watch it right here at the top right of your screen. I'm gonna say 2 quick things and then we're gonna get into the video. First, this season is about lesbian couples. So if that bothers you, just remember, why be a bigot when you can be cool instead? 2, I know I get a lot of traffic to my channel when I do commentary videos on reality TV like this, but I don't want anyone to ever feel like they got duped or bamboozled or whatever the case may be. So I want to make it very clear that I am a variety YouTuber, meaning that I don't just post commentary about reality TV. Sometimes I post content about my natural hair. Sometimes I post content about my bunny shadow. And my shorts are really kind of their own situation. Like, it's just random stuff on there. Mini vlogs, show recs, all kind of things. I just don't want anyone to be confused when this season is over and they're like, why is she posting about her hair instead of posting about reality TV? I do all the things, babe. That being said, movies and TV shows are my heart and I am Netflix obsessed, so this isn't going anywhere. It's just not the only thing I do. And if there are any movies and TV shows you'd love to hear my thoughts on, let me know in the comments because I'm always down to watch something else. Now that we got that out of the way, let's get into it. So these episodes were a lot. I'm gonna start by discussing the new couples, then I'm going to go into the dinner when they went back to their original couples, then I'm going to talk about that little mixer that they did, and we know there was tea there, and my predictions for the finale. These two are so in love, I think it's actually physically making me a little sick. So we all saw that big ass lipstick kiss on Xander's neck, but here is another situation when someone is telling someone something that I don't think they had the right to tell them. I don't believe that it was Yoly's place to tell Xander that Vanessa, oh, look at me remembering all these names, that Vanessa and Rae were intimate. It just wasn't her place to tell her. And I know she was kind of like, well, do you want me to tell you? Like, girl, you wanted to tell her. Let's just be upfront about it. You wanted to tell her. I don't think it was her place. I think it was a little petty. And I know some of y'all were saying, y'all, you need to watch out for Yoly. Yoly is a wolf in sheep's clothing. I kind of see it with these last 4 episodes, and I'll get into why a little bit later. Xander's friend Blair is saying that she knows it's been a struggle for Xander and that she doesn't feel like Vanessa has ever really been genuine is wild, and it's a big deal coming from a friend that she's had for such a long time. If one of your best friends is saying that about your ex in front of your new girl, then you know that that's how they genuinely feel. But I'm also sure that that gave Yoly a bit of an ego boost because she's like, oh, you think I'm genuine? Like, you didn't think that about Vanessa? Like, that definitely made her feel like she one-upped her. And then in turn, when they were having dinner at the table and going back to their original couples, Xander being like, well, stability is fun, hinting that stability is not something that she gets from Vanessa, probably made Vanessa feel the complete opposite. Like, damn, she don't get that from me. She has fun with me, but stability is also fun. I know that made her feel some type of way because that made me feel some type of way. I was like, damn. She says stability is fun. And I know she not talking about Vanessa when she say that. There was a point where Yoly said she falls in love fast, and that exactly echoed what Mal said. So yeah, there was truth in that. She wasn't just saying that to be petty. Yoly even acknowledged it. I also do think that little ring pop situation was real cute. It matched the nails, you know. It's a ring pop, it's cute. It's a symbolization of something. So I thought that was a cute moment. So we're just gonna discuss the elephant in the room. Rae has made it abundantly clear that she wasn't pressured into anything with Vanessa. So at this point, we all need to let it go. And when I say we all, I mean Lexi too. Just let it go. It happened. It is what it is. Now, Lexi did say that Rae promised her that she wouldn't sleep with anyone. But you know what? In that moment, she did, and Vanessa did. And you can talk about breaking a promise, and if they decide to stay together, they'll have to work that out. But at the end of the day, it happened, and there's nothing that Lexi can do about it. And on top of that, at the end of the day, they were broken up. So really, it does not matter. I know that it feels like it matters for Lexi. I get it. But they weren't together. When Rae and Vanessa met up with Vanessa's dad, I think that he was upfront and honest, and I think he gave them good advice. Saying that marriage should be more like a lease, so every 7 years you check in and go, we still in this thing? That sounds like, you know, messy, petty, whatever, but it's kind of a big deal. People can change a lot in 7 years, so he sounds like a man that's been through it, and I kind of appreciated that advice. I like that Mal told Lexi she didn't want to talk about Vanessa. She was very supportive throughout the whole situation, but I like that she was like, look, I don't want Vanessa to tarnish the time that we have left. I think it was like a day or 2 left. Tarnish the time that we have left. I'm here to support you, but like, let's talk about something else. So I'm glad that she stood up for herself in that moment. When she said, literally, you have to let it go, my sentiments exactly. You really do just have to let it go. You gotta, it's done. So Mal met Lexi's parents, and I love that mom was giving them the real tea. Contrary to popular belief, marriage is not just a piece of paper. It's a legal commitment to one person, to their finances, meaning any debt that they have, and to their highs and their lows. It is a commitment. You really do need to be sure. And yeah, of course, you can end up getting a divorce, but nobody gets married thinking, well, one day if it doesn't work, we can just get a divorce. Like, nobody wants that. So you do have to do your best to make sure it's right. And it does feel a bit rushed, especially in these reality TV situations. Shows like The Ultimatum, shows like Love is Blind. It is a very fast, quick-paced thing. So you really almost have to be extra sure when you're going onto a show like this. Now, me personally, I think we need to be talking about the more important topic here. And that's the fact that Lexi's dad is fine as hell. No tea, no shade to her mama, but I love me an older white man, honey. Daniel Craig me, please. Now, of course, I am a natural hair girly, so I love that Mal and Lexi were able to have conversations about natural hair and the struggles that black women face with it. And I love that Lexi was open and willing to have those conversations and not say, but it's just hair, because it's never just hair. Now, when Mal and Lexi met Mal's friend Alicia, and Alicia was like, you thought she was feeling you? Like, no, Mal's just nice. Mal's just nice. Don't think that just because she's been nice to you that means she's falling in love with you. And I was like, damn. Mal and Lexi also had the soulmate conversation, which I thought was interesting because I ended up having that conversation in the comment section of my last video. I am not a person that believes in just one soulmate. I think that it's a little naive to believe that there's just one person for every person. This earth is huge, and I might have a soulmate or 2 or 3 in every country on this planet. That doesn't mean I can't be happy with one person, but that does mean that I just don't believe in that there's one person in the world for me. I think that's a crazy thing for me to even fathom. But let me know in the comments. I'm curious if anyone else feels this way about soulmates or if I'm kind of alone in thinking that. Well, first off, I want to say that I am following almost the entire cast, if not, I think the entire cast on Instagram. So I have been keeping up with them outside of the show. Tiff has been very vocal about the fact that Netflix did not honor their pronouns, and I didn't know about their pronouns previously, so I am correcting myself now. I mentioned this, but I think it would have been a great idea for Netflix to put pronouns next to the pop-ups of their name and their ages, because that only would have made sense, especially since this is a queer season. So I was a little disappointed that they didn't do that, and I'm going to correct myself here as best as I can. I never want to offend anyone, and I want to do my best to respect everyone's pronouns. Okay, if anyone is curious about exactly what Tiff said to Netflix, I took these screenshots from their story, so you can pause to read if you are interested. So I was happy to see these two together. Like, when we first went back to them, it was so nice. It was like, oh, they're so happy. It looks so good on them. Especially based off of where we left them at last time, where y'all know the dog situation. Everybody had their damn friends and parents in the mix. We got a lot of outside opinions. Tiff's friend Natasha saying that if it's not working with Mildred, then just end it, was kind of like a duh. But it was also like, you know, Mildred not about to do that. And you know that Tiff's not about to do that. But all that being said, there is clearly some type of disconnect intimacy-wise between Tiff and Sam. So if they were to choose each other, they would definitely have to work on that. Tiff could have been doing it out of respect for Mildred, or because she just didn't want to move too fast in this show situation. But she wouldn't even hold Sam's hand, so that's kind of a big deal. Okay, I'm going to be completely real. When we first got back to these two, I found myself thinking that there was something off. Something just wasn't clicking to me about them, so I know they had to feel that too. I just felt like they simply weren't a good match. Not that either of them are terrible people, they just are a terrible fit. They're like two puzzle pieces that somebody's trying to make fit, but they don't go together. And they do have terrible communication styles that don't really go well with each other. So they both need to work on their communication styles. Mildred is like, I'm allowed to have emotions. Aussie is like, who said you can't, babe? I didn't say you couldn't. I'm no therapist, but if someone says it's okay if I raise my voice, it doesn't mean I'm angry. I just want to be heard. Red flag immediately. That means that at some point in their life, they have not felt heard, and they felt like elevating their voice was the only way they could feel heard. That's a trauma response. You need to go to therapy for that. And then on the flip side, you have Aussie basically walking around like, la 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 la, I can't hear you. Which is also not a great response to having a disagreement with somebody. These two could never work in a million years. We all know that. And Aussie said that she gets up and leaves because she's protecting her mental health. But it does look like she just runs whenever things aren't perfect. And that is terrible. That has to be so tiring for your mental health. And to top it all off, the film crew is petty as hell for zooming in to the trash bag when Mildred was like, I wish you would have taken the trash bag out because there's tampons in. Like, why they had to zoom in? They had to zoom in. They so petty for that. Okay, so this dinner table. Whenever they get at this dinner table, you already know some stuff is about to go down. I love that Tiff took some accountability up front and said, yeah, I did come into this experiment with some anger towards my ex, and I took that out on Sam, and I'm sorry about that. When the host was asking Aussie and Mildred how their time together went, the silence was so loud so very loud. Aussie continues to make accusations that Mildred is lying about all of these things she's saying. But Aussie saying that they just weren't ready to talk doesn't make sense. Aussie is never ready to talk. Aussie just gets up and walks out. Aussie even hit us with the, I had to put myself first, Lucius. You always put yourself first, and that's not how, there is no I. There is an I in relationship. Y'all was about to see how bad my spelling is. There's no I in team. So as far as the whole Vanessa and Rae situation, they both admitted there was no romance there. It was just a thing that happened in the moment. Vanessa even hinted at needing to have this hall pass every 3 to 4 years and then come back to her relationship and then she's good. So I was talking to one of you about the fact that I think Vanessa would actually thrive in a polyamorous relationship. She sounds like that is the exact relationship that she is describing. I don't think she wants traditional monogamy, and it's 2023. She doesn't have to have it. It's free. There's a little bit more communication than she's giving, but it's free. Everybody's talking. You can go out and do these things you want to do. I think she would thrive in that. But you have to be with someone who also wants that, and Xander does not want that. She simply refuses to let Xander go, and we'll get into that in a little bit. I do agree with Xander when it comes to Vanessa's apology. We do have to allow people to grow. I think today as a society, myself included, sometimes it's just like, you said one thing one time, you don't get to grow. But we do have to give people a chance and opportunity to grow. And in that moment, if she was saying that she grew and she learned, then we have to take that at face value, and then we can judge her or whatever based on what she does later. But in that moment, we did have to kind of accept that, okay, she said she changed, it is what it is. Mal and Lexi are just as in love sitting at this table as they were sitting at the table last time. And Yoly was not happy about it, and she did have a point. Yes, you showed up in these 3 weeks for Lexi, but are you going to be able to do that in 3 weeks, 3 years, 30 years? That has to be something that you can consistently do. And it sounds like that's what Yoly's worried about with Mal, that she can't consistently keep that up. I think it's an important and a fair question. One thing about Yoly and Xander though, they are keeping it zip, zip, hush, hush about how far they went with intimacy. They said mum is the word, and that's it and that's all. Even when Xander and Vanessa were back together and they were alone talking about it, Xander would not tell her how far they went. Xander's like, it's not really your information to know. Now I know that I just said we need to forgive Vanessa, but sitting at this table and being like, Rae told me I should go after what I want, and that's you, Xander. Is it? Is it? It's just a wild statement for her to make, specifically for her to make, because she was the furthest on the end of, this is not what I want. I want free love. I don't want to be tied down. So for her to make a 180 in 3 weeks, I don't really believe it. Okay, so we are back to our original couples, Vanessa and Xander. Straight up, Xander did not look happy. Xander did not look happy to be back. Maybe it's just me, but she did not look happy. When Vanessa was telling her that she's ready for marriage and she's ready for kids, and Xander was saying, I don't know what to do with that information, I felt that, because I don't know what to do with that information either, because I don't believe it. And I really hate to use the word that I'm about to use, but Vanessa feels almost love bomby towards Xander. She's doing all these things, telling her exactly what she wants to hear. I want to have the marriage, I want to have the kids, taking her on these hot air balloon rides. I don't know, maybe that's the norm in their relationship, and to me it just looks like she's kind of showboating, but that's just kind of how it felt for me. But even Vanessa's dad said it, and I love that he did. He said, you are afraid that you're about to lose Xander. You now know what it feels like to lose Xander, and you don't want that, so you're doing anything you can to hold on to her. And Vanessa got so defensive about it, and that's why I felt like there's some truth to it. And when Vanessa told Xander that she loves her, and she was like, Xander, say it back. She looked so scared in that moment. I was like, child, the ghetto. I think I actually audibly said that out loud. I was like, this is very ghetto right now. Like, big yikes. Completely unrelated side note, y'all know who Vanessa reminds me of? The girl from Get Out. I feel like Vanessa very much would eat dry cereal and have a glass of milk on the side. Okay, Yoly and Mal, I think that Mal is just the best. I know everyone has their flaws, but I just love Mal. I just love her. Acknowledging that Yoly was in fact mourning the relationship that she had with Xander was such a big thing of Mal to say. She didn't have to say that, so green flag. But they did get into a huge argument, and Mal was saying that Yoly is her hell yes, and she wasn't getting that same energy from Yoly. Everyone deserves someone who is sure about them, so I understand why she was mad about that. She went off on sis though. She was like, do you want this to fight for you? And I was like, whoa. When a black person calls a non-black person a nigga, like, either they're really chill with that person or they're really pissed off at that person. And we know which one it was in this situation. I was like, oh damn. I felt so genuine. She was like, I understand that you're in love with someone else, but I could still be your person. I'm not that big of a person. If somebody told me they was in love with somebody else, I'd be like, well then go be with them then. What are you here, you know? Like, Mal's a big person. We gotta give that to her. Although Mal wants to be Yoly's hell yes, she's still willing to put in the time and energy into the relationship. That being said, Mal's biggest fear came true in this situation. Her biggest fear going into this day one was that she's nothing special. Yoly doesn't see her as anything special because, as she puts it, Yoly will fall in love wherever she is watering the grass, or whatever it was that she said. She didn't feel special. She didn't feel unique. She didn't understand why it was her. And Yoly falling in love with Xander only proved that. It only validated those feelings that Mal had. So at the end of the day, if Yoly does choose Mal, she's still not staying for Mal, because in Mal's eyes, she doesn't feel like she's anything special. Mal's facial expressions when Yoly was telling her that she's in love with Xander, priceless. And I also think that knowing that Xander and Yoly had talked so deeply about finances really was the icing on the terrible birthday cake, because that was another insecurity that Mal had, that her finances weren't in order enough. And when she was saying to Yoly, like, oh, have you seen her bank accounts? And Yoly was like, yeah, I saw them. She was like, oh. So yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, even aside from the fact that Yoly is in love with Xander and Xander is in love with Yoly. The next day when they were making breakfast, and Yoly again brought up the fact that these new things that Mal is doing might not be sustainable, Yoly brought up toilet paper, and she was like, well, what's going to happen when you get lazy and you want to use the backup toilet paper that's only 1-ply? I was like, are we really about to talk about 1-ply versus 2-ply toilet paper? She said 1-ply didn't make her feel secure, and listen, I like my 2-ply too. So I get it, but it was just a fun. She was like, I don't feel secure in 1-ply. Okay, we get it, sis. Mal and Yoly also met with Alicia, Mal's friend. And I found it funny that she said love is not enough, because remember, that's something I said in my previous video. Love is not enough. At the end of the day, if it's not working, it's not working. And y'all need to find a way to part ways, basically. Now, we did get a sneak peek at these two at the end of episode 8, so we already know that Mal is going to propose. Okay, Aussie and Sam. So there was a point where Aussie mentioned feeling more masked, so I'm just going to refer to Aussie with non-binary pronouns because I'm not exactly sure what they identify as. Initially, Sam hinted on the fact that Aussie had walked out on her before, and then we very quickly see that that is the case. Aussie is a walker out. And listen, we can go back and forth all day about Aussie, but for me, when I look at Aussie, I see so much trauma, so much pain, things she's never dove into, things she's never talked about. Aussie's mom doesn't even know that Aussie is gay. Sam is worried about having to pretend to be a friend, and that's a lot to ask someone to do. Aussie mentions having a very traditional Chinese upbringing. I just think they were never allowed to speak up or speak their opinion or have an opinion. And so now when anyone says anything that doesn't sound like what Aussie wants to hear, Aussie gets extremely, extremely defensive. It is a trauma response and a defense mechanism because it feels like a personal attack. Aussie is 42 years old and cannot have simple disagreements without packing up and running away. Aussie's backpack is more ready to go than Dora's. Aussie mentioned loving Sam but not feeling safe with her. And I don't think Aussie is gonna feel safe with anyone because that insecurity, that not feeling safe, is internal. Sam feels like she is walking on eggshells, and I get it. They were talking about making changes, and Sam was asking Aussie, so how do you intend to make those changes? A very honest question. Aussie lost their shit. And then breaking down in the parking lot and just saying repeatedly over and over, I didn't do anything wrong, I didn't do anything wrong, I'm being blamed, I didn't do anything wrong. You can tell that that is the first time Aussie has been like letting those emotions out. It's rough. Aussie needs to go see a therapist and fast. And I'm not saying that to be shady. I'm saying that because I recognize that trauma response because I've seen it in myself and I've seen it in others around me. Aussie needs to go talk to a professional. I will say though, I love that Aussie said that their parents did their best. Except for the fact that if your parents were really, really abusive, all of our parents just did their best. There is no manual that comes with raising kids. Raising kids is hard. And I believe that even though I had trauma growing up and I mentioned some things that I went through in my childhood in the last video, I still think my parents did the best that they could with what they had, and I don't blame them for anything. But I do intend on breaking generational curses and generational trauma. But that doesn't mean that I blame my parents for me having that. They literally did do the best that they could. Mildred and Tiff. Mildred mentioned being a jealous person. So like, girl, why are you even on this show? You already knew what this was going to entail. I kind of get the feeling that Mildred was trying to invalidate Tiff's experience because she herself had such a terrible experience. So she was like, no, and you're focused on me now. Forget about that just because, just because Aussie left her and she didn't get the full experience. Like, just because that was your experience doesn't mean that that was Tiff's experience. Tiff is telling Mildred that she doesn't feel heard, and Mildred's response is, well, you talk too much, and I'm a Latina, so you're gonna have to listen to me. Girl, bye. That is not an excuse. On top of all their issues, Mildred has a 16-year-old son who has special needs. She needs a team, and she needs a partner, and they need to not be arguing all the time. I have a little sister who has Down syndrome, so I know that there are some extra things that come with raising a child, even though I didn't raise her, raising a child who has special needs. You really do need a team. You really do have to be on the same page. And Mildred and Tiff aren't on the same page about anything. So, let alone helping to raise a child with special needs, who's probably going to have to remain in the household after the age of 18 when a neurotypical child would leave the house. So I think the way that Lexi feels is just that. It's the way that Lexi feels. Feelings are what they are, and we don't always have control over the way that we feel. But at the same time, we can't really blame anybody else for that. Lexi saying that Rae would have eventually cheated on her is a wild accusation, because Rae never gave you any indication that she was a cheater, and she didn't cheat now. Trying to make Rae feel guilty about it is ridiculous. I also initially thought it was weird that they were having this conversation at the dinner table with Lexi's parents. And then I remembered that Lexi is 24. She hasn't gotten to the point where she's stopped running to her parents with all of her relationship issues, but she's going to need to, because every issue that you have in a marriage, every issue that you have in a long-term relationship, you can't be running to your parents telling them all the tea. Some things are meant to stay between you and your partner. I don't care. I know some people are extremely close with their parents, but everything is not for them to know, because whether you wanted to or not, that is going to give them a view on your partner. And now every time you talk about your partner, even the good things, they're going to be like, well, what about that one time that your partner did this thing? You forgave. Just because you might forgive them doesn't mean your parents or your friends or anybody is going to forgive them. So you really have to be careful with how much information you tell people. Granted, they're on reality TV. I get it. I know that this information is going to come out anyway. But I have the feeling that Lexi would run to her parents no matter what. Every little problem that she had with anybody in any relationship, she's going to run to her parents. And to be straight up, she needs to grow out of that. Telling Rae not to look at or talk to Vanessa all night at that mixer, while also being like, well, it's okay if you talk about her, is weird and kind of gaslighty, because it's like, well, I didn't tell you that you couldn't bring her up, but also don't look at her or talk about her or think about her. Pick one, sis, pick one. Like, is it just me, or did Lexi and Mal have some amazing moments, and was Lexi not really wrapped up in Mal and really like Mal a lot? So it's kind of hypocritical to tell Rae not to have that same experience. And I'm also sure it was hard for Rae to hear that Lexi was so enthusiastic about Mal, and Mal was the only one, and she knew right away. Okay, the final mixer. Let's give a shout out to Mal again for being the bigger person the entire night. Hugging Xander knowing that your girl is in love with her and she ready to leave any minute is being the bigger person. Asking Yoly if she just needed her to trust her in that moment when she wanted to go back and talk to Xander, being the bigger person. Now, should we talk about this DM situation or this Xander Yoly situation first? Let's talk about the DM. Why was Yoly saying she didn't think it happened? Like, girl, you know it happened. And she was very specific with the words she said. She didn't say, oh, I didn't feel like it happened that way. She said, I didn't think that happened. And she said it twice. So she really meant it. Mal calling Vanessa a fruit fly is actually sending me. Like, I can't unsee a fruit fly with Vanessa's tiny little face on it now. Like, I can't unsee it. Okay, so with that whole DM situation, I don't really know where I stand. I'm kind of like right in the middle. Like, should they be talking to the ones they were doing the experiment with? I don't know. Should they not? I don't know. I don't know where I stand on it. But what I do know is that I heard Rae tell Vanessa when they were getting up from the dinner table, say, I expect some texts. So how do we know that Vanessa wasn't texting Rae? We don't know that. Just because it didn't come out doesn't mean that it didn't happen. So Vanessa getting all up in arms about DMs between Yoly and Xander is giving double standard, babe. It's giving double standard, because I heard Rae, we all heard Rae say that she wanted you to text her. So I'm just saying, if somebody got those texts, share them with the class. Xander and Yoly full on holding hands, not just holding hands, like caressing each other. Yoly mouthed, I know, in response to something that Xander said. And damn it, I want to know what she said. I need to know. I want to know what she was saying I know to. I have a feeling that she was saying something along the lines of, I choose you, or I'm going to pick you, or something like that. They were both standing with Mildred, and Xander said, I love you. And Yoly said, I love you. I believe she said it back. Bold AF. Bold AF. That was bold. But I get the feeling that Yoly and Mildred are like besties. So that's probably why they felt comfortable saying it in front of her, but that was bold. There's a part of me that's like, Yoly's being upfront and being honest. And then there's another part of me that's like, Yoly is being disrespectful. It's like her delivery is good, but what she's doing is bad. It's like she's sprinkling sugar on top of a strawberry that's going bad. Like she's trying to make it sweet, but what she's doing is not actually really sweet. And like I said, Mal is being the bigger person, so it looks like, oh, Mal's okay with it. But no, Mal said it's hard. She's just trying to be, you know, she is trying to be the bigger person in that situation. I think that Yoly should have had a little bit more care, and maybe she should have spoken to Xander, but holding her hand and caressing her hand is a step that didn't need to be taken by either of them. Moving out of sight when they were talking so that no one could see them alone. I understand that she could give Yoly everything that she needed, including the friendship, and she knew Mal can't do that. It's messy. Mal keeps going back to the fact that she chooses Yoly, hair tied, chilling with no makeup on, and that Xander isn't doing that. Mal is like, I love Yoly when she ain't shit. Xander, do you love her when she ain't shit? That being said, I did feel like Mal was trying to back Xander into a wall and force her to pick a side right then and there. So I love that Xander was like, look, it's not decision day. I'm not giving you a decision. That's it, that's all. Okay, let's talk about my predictions for the finale. Vanessa and Xander. I think Vanessa is going to choose Xander, but for selfish reasons. But I do not think that Xander is going to choose Vanessa. I think she's going to choose Yoly. As far as Yoly and Mal, it's very clear that Mal is going to choose Yoly. We already got a sneak peek of that. But I don't think Yoly is going to end up choosing anybody. I think she's going to leave single. Sam and Aussie. I don't know what the hell is going to happen here, but they both need to leave alone. This entire relationship is one huge red flag, simply because of the fact that Aussie has so much unhealed childhood trauma that they need to deal with. Mildred and Tiff. I think Mildred is going to choose Tiff. I don't think Tiff is going to choose Mildred. I think Tiff is going to opt to leave alone. And as I already mentioned about their relationship, huge red flag as well. Lexi and Rae. I also think that both of them are going to split and end up leaving alone. So episodes 9 and 10 will be released on June 7th. I don't think that episode 10 is the reunion because it's only 42 minutes. That feels really, really short for a reunion. So I just don't think that that's the reunion. I think we're going to end up getting an episode 11 that's the reunion. But of course, I don't know because they're not really giving a preview of what it is. I'm thinking it might be like a never before seen footage or behind the scenes or something like that. If you have made it all the way to this point in my video, thank you so much. This next part has absolutely nothing to do with the Ultimatum Queer Love, but it is a little fun Easter egg that I wanted to drop in this video. I got a lot of feedback on my last video about the presentation and the pace being great, and I hope that I also brought that to you during this video, although I know this one might have been a little longer, and I really appreciate that. I started this YouTube channel about a year ago, and my first 3 videos were Netflix related, and 2 of those videos were about the Ultimatum Season 1. If you want a good laugh, I'm gonna drop those videos in the description box so you can go watch them, because it's really gonna show how much I have progressed and how much time and effort I put into making this something, because it's something that I love to do, making this something that is palatable, that people want to watch, and trying to improve it. I could have just continued to release the videos in the way that I did, but I did try to get better with them. Now, personally, I cringed incredibly hard when I went back over the weekend and watched these videos, but I love to see the progress that I made, so I figured I would share it with you just in case you wanted to see it as well. I'm so happy that I stuck with it because I got to meet all of you lovely people. Anyway, I'll link those videos in the description box, and probably up here I'll put one of them. The background music is almost louder than my voice, and they're genuinely pretty bad videos, but they are the first 2 videos that I posted to YouTube, so I think they're worth a watch if you're into watching progress. And I'll see y'all later. If you want to connect with me after this video, subscribe to my channel or follow me on Instagram, and I'll see you later. Subscribe. You feel your energy from